The Arizona Diamondbacks are back in the final wild card spot in the National League. The Arizona Diamondbacks have won 8 out of their last 10 games, with 3 wins over the Dodgers, 1 win over the Padres, 2 series wins against St. Louis and the Athletics after losing the first game of each series. So they lost their first game and then won the last 2. They are peaking at the right time right now, and they will need even more offensive firepower from the bottom of the order to continue to stay in this race. The Athletics series was a microcosm of what this entire season has been. First, it was started by a guy that we did not expect to pitch for the Arizona Diamondbacks this season. Mitch Bratt gave up 8 hits but only 2 runs. And he had a lot of guys on base, but once he got the guys on base, he was able to get them out for the most part. In the first game, Joshua Kuroda Grauer fouled the ball off of his midsection, is what they said on the broadcast, but he had a ruptured testicle, stayed in the game and singled, and then later got emergency surgery. Then in this game, the Diamondbacks fell victim to, I think, the worst officiated challenge. Gabriel Moreno took a ball. It was in the strike zone, but it was called a ball. And they had, I believe it was Perdomo stealing second. The catcher throws the ball to second to try and get the runner out. The ball gets into the outfield. So Perdomo advances to third. Gabriel Moreno is on his way to first base because he was walked. And then after standing there for a couple seconds, then the catcher taps his head asking for a challenge. And for some reason, the umpire gives him the challenge, and Gabriel Moreno is called out. So instead of first and third with 1 out, it's one guy on third with 2 outs, and the Diamondbacks rally ended at 2 runs to tie the game 2-2. Then, after losing all that momentum, the Diamondbacks gave up 3 runs in the 7th inning. Kevin Ginkel was responsible for all 3 earned runs, and the Diamondbacks lost 5-2. The Athletics had 15 hits in this game and only gave up 5 runs, so good defense from the Diamondbacks to even keep the game as close as it was. The Diamondbacks got on base themselves 10 times and were only able to drive in 2 runs. Feels like the Diamondbacks kind of struggle out of the gates in some of these series recently, especially post All-Star break, where they come out flat. The offense isn't playing very well in the first game of the series, and then with their backs against the wall, they play their best baseball for the next 2 games. The second game of the series was controlled by the Diamondbacks from the start to almost the finish. Left-hander from AAA Reno, acquired in the Merrill Kelly trade from the Rangers last year. Cole Drake made his MLB debut for the Diamondbacks on Tuesday, where he allowed 1 run in 5 innings pitched. That 3rd inning got a little hairy, where he gave up a run, had the bases loaded with no outs, but again, more defensive, just tremendous defensive play from the Diamondbacks infield resulted in no other runs being scored. And then the 4th and 5th inning, he went out there and did his job. It just goes to show you what a good defense can do for a young pitcher or a struggling pitcher, because even in a bases loaded jam that Cole Drake was in the 3rd inning on Tuesday, he was still able to hold the Athletics to 1 run. And the Athletics have a good offensive team. Cole Drake looked pretty impressive outside of that 3rd inning, and I believe that he's probably in line to get even more starts. He, Jose Cabrera, and Mitch Bratt are the 3 young guys in this Diamondbacks farm system that are probably going to get the majority of the starts and the innings, without Michael Soroka, Zach Gallen, Ryan Nelson, Corbin Burns in the lineup right now. And so the Diamondbacks then went on to sorry, excuse me. The Diamondbacks got a 3-0 lead early in this game in the first inning, where Max Kepler went yard and put the Diamondbacks up 3-0. It was a 3-run home run with 2 outs, so hitting with runners in scoring position, hitting with 2 outs, something that the Diamondbacks desperately need, and Max Kepler was able to get it done. And then nothing happened. It was a 3-1 ball game until the bottom of the 7th, where Ketel Marte hit a sacrifice fly that I believe scored Ildemaro Vargas, or maybe it was Jorge Barosa, um, in the bottom of the 7th to give the Diamondbacks a 4-1 lead. Then Ryan Thompson in the top of the 8th gave up 1 run. He got hit pretty hard, but escaped that inning with 1 run. And then, as if you're a Diamondbacks fan, you've heard this story before. Paul Sewald came into the 9th inning, gave up a triple and then a home run, and it was a tie game 4-4. Look, we've been so happy about Paul Sewald and his ability to close games for the Diamondbacks this year. The ERA hasn't been great because of non-save situations. He's played really poorly, but now things are starting. They're starting to fracture in save situations. I believe he's blown 2 saves in the last 2 weeks. And luckily, the Diamondbacks were still able to go on and win this game in extra innings, thanks to Kevin Ginkel, who allowed the ghost runner to score in a 1-2-3 top of the 10th inning. It was a grounder, advanced to runner to third, and then a fly out. The runner was able to tag and go home. Then Kevin Ginkel got the final out of the inning as well. So the Diamondbacks were down 5-4. They're 3-5 before this in extra inning games. So these games decided by the thinnest of margins. Diamondbacks continually have not been able to end up on the right side of these games. But Gabriel Moreno was up so it was Corbin Carroll on second as the ghost runner, and then Gabriel Moreno and Max Kepler each worked walks to start the 10th inning to load the bases. Then Nolan Arenado, who's on a extremely hot stretch right now, single to score Corbin Carroll. Tawa struck out, and then it brought up Ildemaro Vargas, who had one of the more incredible walk-off hits that you'll ever see. He was swinging from the left side of the plate and took his bat shoulder height and was able to knock one out of the infield and into the outfield to single and score Gabriel Moreno. So the Diamondbacks won in extra innings 6-5 to really not every game feels like, oh, they saved the season, but to lose 2 games to the Athletics before this daunting road trip that's coming up, it would have felt like an absolute gut punch to this team. And then yesterday afternoon against the Athletics, the Diamondbacks had their best offensive performance of the season, where they scored 15 runs in a 15-5 rout. The Diamondbacks bullpen was so depleted that Torey Lovullo turned to Ildemaro Vargas to pitch in the 9th inning because he needed to save his bullpen arms. And what was great about this game yesterday was the power surge that we got from the Diamondbacks. I'm sure there was lots of power outages all over the valley because of how hard the Diamondbacks were hitting the baseball yesterday. The Diamondbacks hit, I believe it was 5 home runs yesterday, and it started with a Corbin Carroll home run and then a Nolan Arenado home run to get the Diamondbacks up 2-1. Then Merrill Kelly gave up a home run later in the 5th inning And then in the bottom of the fifth inning, Marte scored on a wild pitch. Gabriel Moreno homered 427 feet. Then Ildemaro Vargas doubled to center, which scored Arenado. McCann homered to left center 431 feet, and which also scored Vargas. And then Ryan Waldschmidt hit his first career home run at the major league level. That one went 426 feet. Then in the bottom of the sixth inning, Corbin Carroll scored on a wild pitch. McCann singled to left. Moreno scored. Vargas advanced to second, and Arenado went to third. Tawa doubled to center, which scored Arenado and Vargas and got McCann to third. Then Waldschmidt hit a sacrifice fly to James McCann. So that got the Diamondbacks up to 14 runs. They tacked on a later run. They were up 15. They were up 15-2 before Ildemaro Vargas gave up 3 runs in the final inning. A gutsy call by Torrey, because you throw in a position player and you could easily give up 8 runs in that situation, and all of a sudden it's a 15-10 game. But it did not go down like that, and the Diamondbacks were able to save Brandon Garcia for today's game, which first pitch is in a few hours against the St. Louis Cardinals. But in today's game, which is going to be very important because of how good Garcia has been, and the Diamondbacks are going to need him to pitch a lot today. Not as a starter, but definitely he'll definitely pitch late into the game in this one. So here's the good news about the Arizona Diamondbacks is where they're at in the MLB standings. They're 53-49, and they're 3 games back of the Philadelphia Phillies and 4.5 games back of the Chicago Cubs in the wild card spot. They're 11 games back of the Dodgers, so I don't think we're going to be catching those guys anytime soon, which is fine. What matters is that when we play the Dodgers, we don't get swept or completely demolished by the Dodgers later on in the season. And so the Diamondbacks right now are half a game ahead of a bunch of teams looking to get into the wild card race. So the St. Louis Cardinals are 52-49. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 53-49. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 53-50. The Miami Marlins are 52-50. The Washington Nationals are 52-51. The San Diego Padres are 50-51 and are 2.5 games back of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Then you have the Cincinnati Reds, who are 47-54 and are 5.5 games back. So that's really the wild card race as it stands right now for the National League. And the Arizona Diamondbacks have a chance to put some real distance between themselves and the rest of those National League wild card teams that are on the outside looking in. They have a game against the Cardinals tonight, where if they win that game, then that puts even more distance between them and the Cardinals. They already have a series of the season series win, so even if the Diamondbacks lose this game, they'll still win the tiebreaker if it came down to that at the end of September. Then the Diamondbacks play the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Washington Nationals on this 10-game 4-city road trip. After playing one game in St. Louis, the Diamondbacks head to Washington and play a team that they lost a series 2-1 in Arizona, and the Diamondbacks need to go in and win at least 2 games against the Nationals, who have one of probably the best offense in baseball, but have one of the worst pitching staffs in baseball. So they need to go in, continue to score, and continue to play their absolute best baseball. They have Eduardo Rodriguez going against the Nationals. So hopefully he can bounce back from his lackluster performance in in his last start, and he can get things going there. And then after they play the Nationals, they play the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are a half a game back of the Diamondbacks. So they can go in, and if they can win both of these series against the Nationals and the Pirates and win a game against the Cardinals, they can put 2 to 3 to 4 games of separation in between those teams, not to mention if they're able to beat the Nationals and beat the Pirates 2 out of 3, I believe it evens both of those season series, which would be huge going down the stretch because you don't want to be on the wrong end of a tiebreaker situation. Now, the Diamondbacks still could because their run differential isn't great, and they might have bad records where you're not supposed to have bad records in tie-breaking situations, but at least it won't come down to straight up the Pirates beat the Diamondbacks more times and the Nationals beat the Diamondbacks more times. That would be great for the Diamondbacks if they could position themselves to at least be tied or lead all of these season series against fellow National League wildcard competitors. Now, you might be saying, Kevin, that's ambitious. That's ambitious. And you're right. It is. It is ambitious. But I have some stats for you that should give you some hope that the Diamondbacks have turned their season around and can continue to play really high level baseball. So, since the All-Star break, the Diamondbacks are 5th in runs scored. And in the last 15 days, they are 1st in runs scored. And guess what? This is still when Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll have been struggling. Ketel Marte hit his first home run in July on Tuesday or Monday. I think it was Monday. On Monday against the Oakland Athletics. And Corbin Carroll hit just his second home run against the Oakland Athletics in the month of July. And Geraldo Perdomo has been inconsistent at best at the plate and has not had the same power he had last year. So with the Diamondbacks' top 3 struggling, it's been the bottom of the lineup that's carried them. Gabriel Moreno is leading the way over the last 15 days. He has 15 hits as well as 8 walks and is batting .350 from the plate. Incredible. Nolan Arenado was chasing 2,000 career hits, finally got it, and has been crushing the baseball ever since. He's caught fire and has 12 hits and 8 walks, which shows that his approaches at the plate have been really, really good. And he has been one of the Diamondbacks' leading RBI hitters recently, which has been really good because the Diamondbacks have needed guys to hit with runners in scoring position. And Arenado has done the best of those guys, of any of the guys on the team. And then we've also seen a power surge from Tim Tawa, who has 12 hits, 4 doubles, and 3 home runs over the last 15 days. Ildemaro Vargas has 10 hits, including 2 doubles and a triple. Max Kepler has 8 hits and 8 appearances over the last 15 days and has had some really good at-bats, especially the one on Tuesday to walk, get on base. He battled in that one. He was showing bunt. It was a 3-2 count. He fouled off pitches, finally worked a walk. It was an incredible at-bat that I believe really, really won the game for the Diamondbacks to load the entire bases and advance Corbin Carroll from second to third. And then we've also seen in just 3 games since returning from injury, James McCann has hit 3 home runs and has 6 hits in just 3 games. So James McCann is knocking the baseball around. Hopefully we see a lot more of James McCann going forward because of how well he's been hitting the baseball. I mean, just colossal home runs. And so it's been those guys at the bottom of the lineup that have been doing the work for the Diamondbacks on offense. And it's been really impressive to watch this team string together some really, really impressive innings, starting against the Dodgers, continuing against the St. Louis Cardinals, and then they exploded yesterday against the Oakland Athletics, which has been really good. And the good news is for the Diamondbacks is that they've scored less than 5 runs in this 10 game streak that they're on right now. They've scored 3 runs once in a win, and then they've scored, give it a second to load. They scored 4 runs in a loss against St. Louis, and they scored 2 runs in a loss against the Athletics. But since then, they've scored 15 runs, 6 runs, 5 runs, 8 runs, 5 runs. So they've been doing a better job. If the Diamondbacks can get to 5 or 6 runs, I feel really good about them winning most games because I believe that their defense is so good and that their starting pitching and bullpen has been just good enough to keep teams to 4 to 5 runs. If they're able to do that, if they're able to score 5 to 6 runs a game, I think that they can go on a real hot stretch to end the season. Now against the Nationals, they might have to win some high scoring games. They might have to win a game 10-8 to win the series. They're going to need some really, really standout performances from their pitching staff. And the bullpen is extremely depleted right now. They have a lot of guys who are getting shut down every other day just because of how much they've been called on to pitch, because guys like Mitch Bratt and guys like Cole Drake and Merrill Kelly hasn't been able to pitch late into games. Brandon Pfaadt is still trying to get stretched out. So right now, the Diamondbacks rotation, outside of Eduardo Rodriguez, none of these guys are really able to go more than 5 innings, which is putting a lot of stress on the bullpen. They're going to need Brandon Pfaadt to go 6 full innings today to kind of help this bullpen out. And then you're going to need, hopefully you can get Garcia in an inning. The Diamondbacks can hopefully get a guy like Kevin Ginkel in. Hopefully they can get Paul Sewald in to close it and go from there. But the Diamondbacks bullpen, they really need a strong 10 games from this bullpen to secure at least over 500 record on the road over the next 10 games. They desperately need the bullpen to stay healthy and to not be too overutilized, so that they can remain one of the better bullpens in baseball, not the best. And hopefully at some point down the road they can get the reinforcements from the injured guys like Puck and Martinez at some point, or maybe we see some other guys from AAA come up and pitch really well. Maybe if Soroka is ever able to come back, they can move one of these guys like Mitch Bratt or Cole Drake into a reliever role. But right now it's all hands on deck for this bullpen, and it's all hands on deck for the starting rotation, because if the Diamondbacks need this pitching to show up for 10 more games on the road, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a long road trip, 4 cities, 10 games. It's going to be maybe their most difficult stretch of the season. It's definitely their most important stretch of the season, because when they get back from this road trip, it will be Monday, August 3rd, and it will be trade deadline day. So they need to be playing their best baseball right now, so that Mike Hazen can go out and get another reliever arm. He can go out and get an everyday first baseman that can match. He can go out there and get a lefty DH like Jock Peterson. And we're going to break it all down for you here on this AZ Sports podcast. We're going to break down who the Diamondbacks should go after, who they should give up. We're going to have all of that for you going forward. There's going to be a lot of coverage from all media sites, me included, about what the Diamondbacks should do and are going to do at the trade deadline. So I'm excited to watch this Diamondbacks run, because I do think I do think in the next 10 games, I do think that they're going to manage to go 5-4. We didn't talk a whole lot about the Cleveland Guardians, but that's who they play. That's who they play at the end of next week on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday to close out July and begin August. They play the Cleveland Guardians, who are an okay team, bad offense, good pitching. That's who the Guardians are. Hopefully, if the Diamondbacks haven't played well, to on the road trip, that they can at least salvage it with a good series win or sweep against the Guardians if everything else goes poorly. But hopefully, the Diamondbacks can go forward. They can win 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. They can win 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. They can beat St. Louis. And if they do that, they put themselves in a great, great position to make the playoffs and to buy at the trade deadline. And if everyone comes back, if Jordan Lawler can come back, if we see guys like Corbin Burns, Ryan Nelson, Zach Gallen, Michael Soroka, if especially Soroka and Burns and Nelly, if those 3 guys can come back, that would be huge for the pitching rotation. If we get Justin Martinez and AJ Puck back to help bolster the bullpen, we got Justin Martinez closing games. And then if we can get Jordan Lawler back, he'll provide another boost on offense, not to mention if the Diamondbacks are able to go out and buy a left-handed DH first baseman kind of player that can really, really hit for power, which I think is something that the Diamondbacks team needs, is a guy hitting for power from first base. If we can get that, this Diamondbacks team, like I've said before on this podcast, is going to be an absolute weapon, an absolute threat to make another deep run in the National League playoffs. They're not going to be the favorites, and they might end up being the 6th seed, but we've seen teams go on these kind of runs before all the time throughout baseball. And it's going to be a team that teams haven't seen all season either, because no one's seen what this roster can look like, should look like with guys healthy, with Corbin Burns, AJ Puck, Justin Martinez, Jordan Lawler, a fully functioning top 3 of Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, Corbin Carroll. If those guys can kind of wake up and all 3 get it going at the same time, join Gabriel Moreno and Nolan Arenado in being productive offensive players again. Like, if we can get everything firing at the right time, we can be one of the best teams in baseball, which is really exciting as Diamondbacks fans. I hope it's going to happen. We're going to find out.